you ready, guys? Say it with me. What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/relationships. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And thank you so much for being here today. I've totally lost it. Thank you so much, and let's just crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story comes from Dover Cake. Me, 33 female, and my boyfriend, 34 male, separated, but he won't accept it. Hello there, long post, but in desperate need of advice. I've been with my partner for about 11 months. We met online. Things went quickly, and we said I love you really early on into the relationship. We were amazing. After 5 months, I asked him to come home with me for Christmas for the whole 2 weeks, to see friends, family, and the country I am from. He doesn't have a job, so I paid for everything, but I wanted to. My family hosted him, made him food, etc. The only problem is that when we went into lockdown and were confined, he refused to even go on a walk and instead sulked. During this time, I found him chatting to women on Tinder. He said it was to make friends. I asked him to delete it, and he did. Fast track to Valentine's Day, which I spent alone as he needed space. He received nudes from a woman who invited him to her place for sex. He showed me photos and I asked him to delete them, but they still made me feel really unsettled. Then he started talking to women on Facebook groups, reaching out to them in his spare time. Since he still doesn't have a job, he told me he did this because he felt alone. He said he was flirting, but it was harmless and it was me he loved. It broke my heart. He began asking me to live with him full time because he was so lonely he couldn't take it anymore. We nearly broke up again here because I couldn't do it and I had my own life with my living situation and friends that I didn't want to give up on yet. I said I would do it little by little and ended up there 5 days a week, which still wasn't enough. Things got really intense with us and we decided to move in with each other and started looking. We honestly loved each other and I don't think I had felt this way about a person. My friends though didn't like him. They would always argue when he came around and things would be uncontrollable. He held down a job for 3 weeks before quitting. I was lending him money where I could. We found a place to live and I was the one earning, so I was going to put 2.5k down as a deposit. That week though, I found him chatting to another woman on Facebook who he met on chat roulette and spent hours googling her name to find her. I know because I read the chat while he was on the loo. The chat was really flirtatious. He said yeah, he was talking to her and wouldn't stop. We broke up over it. He said my friends hated him and I didn't support him and said I couldn't take these women and the flirting. Now he's decided that he can't let go of the relationship. He phones me, messages me and says that we loved each other so we can work through it. He has learned from his mistakes. When I cancelled the flat, he went mental and I had to get the police involved to get my belongings back. I've said I want to be friends, that I'm moving home, but he won't accept it. What can I do? I love the guy and I hate seeing him like this. I feel like I have destroyed his world. And from the very last bit there, you haven't destroyed his world at all. He's destroyed his own world. He's the one that was going on Tinder and chat roulette and talking to other women and possibly trying to meet them too and was getting pictures of these women. So this is totally on him. And I wouldn't even try to be like friends in this situation because this man is the bad guy in this whole post. He's the one who's making your life worse. You don't need to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I saw that comment again yesterday, so I thought I'm using it again here. But absolutely, you're not the arsehole. Wrong subreddit again, but you need to cut that guy off instantly, in my opinion. But Carp Nocturne 13 says, you didn't destroy his world. He did. You clearly told him to stop having emotional and possibly sexual relationships with women online and he didn't listen. I'm sorry, but it sounds like he wanted a free ride and now he's pissed he messed it up. You deserve so much better than this. And Skade says, he doesn't get to decide it's not over. If you end the relationship, that's it. It doesn't have to be consensual. Block him across the board, change your locks. He's been mooching off you and needs to support himself. He's also been cheating on you, basically your whole relationship. You deserve better. And Penguins Over People says, my ex-fiance was and is like this. For your own mental health, stop with the we can still be friends mentality, because that is such a toxic way to think when it comes to someone like this. You need to cut all contact. This man keeps hurting you and yet you are willing to keep him in your life. You need to take a moment and realize he will never change. In fact, he will most likely start trying to gaslight, harass and guilt you into getting back with him if he hasn't already. Please realize you deserve better. He doesn't deserve to have you in his life. Please don't keep him in your life. And we'll have one more from Red Dog Bandit who says he didn't love you. He loved not having to work because you would give him money and pay for things. You're so much better off without him. As others have said, block him and move on. Zero contact regardless of what he tries, and alert authorities to the situation if you feel you need to. Now, how would you deal with someone like this if you was in OP's position? Would you just cut them off? And it sounds like they might even go further. Even if they do cut them off, they sound a bit unhinged, but I might be going a bit too far with that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. And this next story comes from Throwaway Account. Meeting my dad for the first time after finding out I'm his affair child. And there is an update after this one as well. By accident, I basically just made his married life implode. Well, I know it's not my fault, he's the one who chose to cheat and all. So I grew up without a dad at all. Just me, 24 male, and my grandma, because my mum left me with her when I was super young. My mum died over a year ago, so I never got to ask her anything about my dad, and my grandma didn't know either. She just knew my mum and said it was complicated with my dad, that even he doesn't know about me. Did one of her 23andMe and got matched with someone who's my paternal uncle. Then it all came out because my dad was married. He told his wife about me and they're divorcing from what I know, but I have chatted with my dad a little. He said he's sorry he wasn't there and would have if he knew about me. Thing is, he asked if we could meet and get to know each other. I said yeah and we're supposed to eat tomorrow, but I'm really nervous. I don't know how I'm supposed to act or what we should be like around each other. Do I hug him when I see him? What do we even talk about? Am I gonna like him? Is he gonna like me? It would be cool to finally have a dad in my life. I never had someone like that for me before, but because of how everything started, would it even be possible for us? He says he really likes to be a part of my life, so I don't want to mess up on our first meeting. Anyone got any tips for how it could go good? Now, I wouldn't have any tips on this, and there's going to be an update, so we're going to find out how it goes anyway. But what I would initially say is just be yourself, because, you know, this is a stranger to you. This is just another human at this point. Sure, biologically it is your father, but you haven't known them throughout your whole life by the sounds of it. So you just be yourself, and likewise, I imagine because the father didn't know you existed either, so you're both strangers to each other at the moment, and sure, a relationship can come from this, and it'd be great if it does, I think. And there is the cheating side of things, which is a negative in that, and how you deal with that is up to you. But, you know, there is a possible relationship here, and I'm going to be excited to see the update, and hopefully it turns out positive. Let's see what it says. So the update says, okay, so like the meeting went really great. Awkward as fuck though. Lol. My dad definitely looked nervous as I was. He was there early, so he was the one waiting. I didn't have time to debate the should I hug him or shake his hand, lol. He kinda went in for it and hugged me. Then he said sorry, he just forgot himself for a second, but I didn't mind. He looked really emotional when I got there. We sat and we ate. Like I said, super awkward in the beginning, we were both just quiet. He started asking me stuff and we went from there. Did the list thing like someone told me to ask him stuff I wanted to know in case I forgot. He was really chill with opening up about the affair. How he ended it with my mum because he didn't want to leave his wife for her. Problems he was going through back then, all his fuck ups, but he wants to make things right and should have been honest to his wife before finding out he had a kid. It went back and forth from casual chatting to deep serious topics. Learned a lot about him and he wanted to know everything about me. Felt like someone was interviewing me to make a biography on my life, lol. He asked if I could send him some baby pics of me whenever I got time, and then we took some pics together too at the restaurant. It freaked me out looking at a pic of us together because we look like total fucking twins. It's crazy. And we have so much in common. He used to love writing and still does it for fun. I love writing too. Into the same music and cooking, both play guitar. I don't know, it's just wild the similarities, but I guess maybe I feel that way because we know now we're related. I'm really happy with how it all went. He was serious when he said he wants to be a part of my life and make up for lost time. If I wanted to, he can help me with school or if I needed to look for work. He's really chill and like he wants to be there. It meant a lot to me to have someone else like that. Time went by fast, so we're going to meet again this weekend to do something else together. Guess we go from there. We hugged again and we said bye this time. I hugged him back. I've been in a really good mood from our time since yesterday, so I've started taking some time to write this out. You all helped me feel more relaxed, so I appreciate that. Thanks Reddit for your help. Oh my word, tearing up at that, and I'm not sure why. I know it's just their first meeting and stuff like that, and there is the negatives of the whole affair, but seeing a relationship build like this when they haven't had this person in their life the whole time, and they're coming together and they're wanting to meet each other and they're offering to help each other and they got similarities. Oh, it's just amazing. It makes me tear up just seeing these little things. I swear Reddit is making me more emotional as things go on. But what do you guys think of this one? I love a little positive update. What about you guys? Let me know in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. Oh dear, wipe my eyes a bit. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. My boyfriend copied my code and I failed the course, so I cannot forgive him. My boyfriend and I have been together for approximately 8 months and we never had serious problems before. I suffer from bipolar disorder and panic disorder, which makes my life very hard to manage, but I've been going to my psychiatrist for 2 years now and I am stable. I'm a student with 4.0 and I work really hard to prove myself. This semester we took the same introductory coding lesson with my boyfriend. This was a required course and because he is more knowledgeable in coding, he offered to help me understand it. He suffers from bad anxiety and ADHD. After the midterm, he was devastated to hear that he got a bad score. He cried for days. So when he begged me for days for my help, I just could not say no. When I offered help, I didn't mean that he could come copy from me, just take influence and write different codes. I made sure to let him know that this would result in plagiarism issues and he accepted. Well, I got the email from my instructor saying that they have caught plagiarism in my code. He copied and pasted the same code that wasn't even working. Then I asked to see the other answers to other questions and he just copied it all from me. Moreover, he waited until after I emailed my professor that there has to be a mistake to tell me that he had copied all of my answers, which put me in a tight spot with the professor. During the exam, when he solved a question and shared it with me, I told him that I could not come up with a new way to approach it and didn't want to get him accused of plagiarism. I did not complete that question. I am fully taking the blame, aiding him and taking place in plagiarism situation. I will be failing the course. I have learnt my lesson in that regard and I will not be doing it again. The problem is that I cannot blame him for taking advantage of my help and lying to me after he was caught. I do realise that I am also to blame in this situation, but I can't help but blame him for this as well. I knowingly helped him, but I also feel like my good intentions were used here. He looked me into my eyes while I was crying, devastated, and he still lied to me. I just don't know what to do and what even to tell him. He said he didn't even remember submitting the plagiarized version because he was in such a panic state, but I have also been in that spot. I chose not to gamble our grades and possible punishment. On top of it all, I've been in a mixed state for a few weeks now, and he knows how stress affects my mood. I will have to talk to my psychiatrist about upping my dosage of meds because the situation is making me spiral. Please understand that I know I am to blame and knowingly helped. I will be suffering the consequences and have told my professor the truth and came clean. What I'm asking here is for advice on how to approach my boyfriend. What should I do? Is me blaming him selfish since I accepted to help? I just need some advice. And we'll start straight away with Zoinks Bub saying, everyone already said what needs to be said, but the frosting on the cake is him blaming his actions on a panic state. But let's be real here, he was lying and guilt tripping you. You don't just accidentally copy someone's whole work and submit it. That doesn't make him evil, but he's certainly a selfish jerk and you should cut him off. And Twin Song says he exploited you, plagiarized you, and I suspect played up his mental health to effectively make you do the work for him. Is me blaming him selfish? Not in the slightest, it's entirely on him, not you. And Fattest Avenger says, you fucking serious, he copied you, he plagiarized you, and you're asking for help so you can keep sabotaging yourself for someone you've only known for 8 months. He is to blame for this, don't help him with your coursework again, period, just don't. You can't trust him, he's risking your future because of his problems. You really want to sacrifice everything for someone like that? Why? He showed he is untrustworthy. Break up, seriously, he's endangering your entire future. If that is not worth breaking up, nothing is. And Maru says, sorry, but I hope you mean ex-boyfriend. And we'll have one more from La Plus says, firstly, if you can prove the work was yours, Anything that time-stamped or some such, you should contact your professor and insist on a regrade. Secondly, your boyfriend is using his mental health to lie to you. Blaming his anxiety and such, lying to your face and impacting your college course, he's being a horrible person. Lastly, don't blame yourself for offering to help. That doesn't mean he should have plagiarized your work. He's at fault here, not you. Stand up for yourself, refuse to help him, and focus on your studies. You deserve better, in my opinion. Now, what would you do in this situation and how would you deal with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Throwaway Record. My husband made an inappropriate comment towards my friend while drunk, and I don't know if I'm overreacting here. My female 29 husband, male 33, started drinking more often after he lost his job about a month ago. He tends to be quite mean and frankly unbearable when drunk. His backhanded comments, even when he isn't aware, the behaviour in general is just, but oftentimes he'd go to bed after drinking too much, so I don't deal with this often. Yesterday, I had my female friend visit after not seeing her since December 2019. She just got back to the States and I arranged for her to visit and talk a bit. My husband was out drinking with a friend of his. He returned home and wanted to sit with us despite being so obviously drunk. I tried to get him to leave us alone till the visit was over, but he dropped to the couch and said we won't even notice he was there. I gotta say, my heart was racing thinking that I'd slip and say something rude in front of my friend. And I was right. He started commenting on every topic we talk about, then apologised for interrupting, then do it again. I was asking my friend about her ex-fiancé and was telling about their fight that led to the separation. My husband kept making faces and shaming my friend's ex for his behaviour. He then directly started talking to her about her ex's type and how she needs to avoid them. My friend made a comment about her just needing her ex and how he wasn't supportive during a serious family death and conflict. My husband complimented her saying she's attractive enough to find someone who deserves her. She nervously smiles, then leaned back and said that he sees that she's so attractive and had no problem hooking up with her if she wasn't my friend and didn't know me. I froze in my place while he kept on about it. My friend looked extremely uncomfortable. At this point I had no choice but tell him to go into the bedroom right then. He tried to argue that it wasn't cool for me to act like that in front of guests. I kept my mouth shut, otherwise he'd relentlessly argue till he's blue in the face. My friend left shortly after this, and I don't blame her for feeling weirded out by what he said. I was upset, livid, but waited till he's sober enough to talk. I told him about what happened and what he said. He said he was drunk so he wasn't aware of what he was saying, and I was nuts trying to hold him accountable for every word that came out of his mouth when drunk. I stated that when someone's drunk they're being honest. He didn't reply. I told him he embarrassed me in front of a close friend of mine and she probably won't visit again after the highly inappropriate comment he made. He told me to give him a break and said that when he's drunk he could talk about, in his words, effing his own mother and still shouldn't be held accountable for it. I was completely irritated by what he said. He told me that I could let it go or choose to argue about it all I want, but he won't participate in the argument. I shouted to go F himself for walking away when I was talking and he replied that he might. Honest to God, I feel so ashamed and embarrassed. I'm also concerned about the comments he made about my friend and how he basically flirting with her. I don't think I'm overreacting, but I need outside perspective on this. Shouldn't be held accountable because you're drunk. I mean, come on now. Absolutely, he's the arsehole in this situation, and I can see why you and your friend would feel extremely uncomfortable with his comments that he was making. And like you said at the very start, when he's drunk, he's mean and very rude. So it sounds like it's a big problem for you. But Iron Juno says, honestly, before he goes on to harass your friend in front of you and then defend his behavior, the fact that you were dreading him being there and knew he'd act appropriately says a lot. Edit, potentially, I should have some advice. Honestly, I think therapy solo would be good. Otherwise, literally sit with how you're feeling. What do you want? Minimum expectations, dream expectations from your life partner. Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? And where/how does your husband fit in that? Will you still be drunk and running off your friends with creepy behavior? And Shizzy Bizmang says, lol, I chose to get drunk, but anything I say or do while drunk doesn't matter and you can't hold me accountable. What in the goddamn fuck is that 33-year-old man doing with his life? Grow the fuck up. This is honestly some seriously effing dumb teenager shit. If he's gonna drink, he needs to be responsible for his actions, because you sure as hell have to deal with his actions. Don't let him off the hook. And Netflix and Nika says, claiming he's not accountable for what he says while drunk is such a lame cop-out excuse to escape responsibility that I'm surprised he's in his 30s. That's some nonsense you grow out of in college. Even while sober, he shrinks away from accountability. Who the hell just waves off concerns and says, yeah, I'm not participating in this conversation, and walks away? And Fluffy Guru says, if he wants to be single, he can be single. As the old saying goes, don't talk about it, be about it. Edit to clarify, I'm suggesting your husband is a jerk and doesn't seem to remember certain conduct is not appropriate for married men. And Denver Ralphie says, just tell your husband up front. If you're gonna use being a drunk as an excuse, then I refuse to be married to a man who gets drunk. I didn't marry drunk husband, I married sober husband. If drunk husband is gonna continue to act that way, then I want drunk husband out of my life. If you can't separate the two, then you've got to go. And iPhone says, since no one said it, I'll say it. Your husband has a drinking problem. It's not about physical addiction here, it's more about the fact that he's using it to get through a rough patch, and it's negatively impacting his life and relationships. He's negatively impacting your life and relationships. This is like 75% of the definition of a substance abuse problem. It's possible that how he acts is a result of alcohol's effect on his personality. It's possible his alcoholism is a result of his mental health being in rough shape. It's possible that this is just who he is, but you can't know any of that unless he stops drinking, can you? And we'll have one more from Lucio who says, your husband sucks. He should apologise for what he said and talk it out with you. He probably shouldn't be around alcohol either. He embarrassed you and he couldn't even acknowledge that. His whole behaviour seemed childish and inappropriate, and if he doesn't understand that, leave him. I hate telling people to leave in this subreddit, but your husband is just something else. Now, what do you guys make of today's collection of stories? How would you act in those stories if you was in their shoes? Let me know in the comments if you choose to do so, but never any pressure either. And just a huge thank you for spending 20 minutes or so with the channel and getting involved. It means the absolute world. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
I've been thinking that I can't let you go. Hey, can you hear